You are the storm, look. The world around us isn't waiting. Change isn't coming. It's already here, crashing like a storm. And guess what? You're not just caught in the storm. You are the storm, the old ways. They're breaking down. Industries, ideas, entire systems built on complacency and fear are trembling. But storms don't ask permission. They don't pause to take a breath. They disrupt. They reimagine. They redefine what's possible. You have that power too. Inside you, there's a force, a relentless energy that refuses to settle for the status quo. You're wired to challenge limits, to question every assumption, to build what hasn't been built, and to solve problems that others say are impossible. Every innovation, every leap forward, comes from people who refuse to wait for the world to change. They became the catalyst. They were the storm. So don't shrink back from complexity or risk. Don't wait for permission or perfect timing. The future is shaped by those who act now, who take bold risks, who are willing to fail fast and learn faster. That's how progress happens. You are the storm that will disrupt outdated industries, the storm that will accelerate humanity's journey to a sustainable future, the storm that will push beyond Earth and into the stars. It's uncomfortable. It's chaotic. It's hard, but nothing worth doing was ever easy. So harness that energy, own that power, push harder, think bigger, move faster. Because if you don't become the storm will pass you by, and the future will be written without you. You are the disruptive force driving change, not a bystander. This idea is fundamental to how progress happens in the world. Too often, people view themselves as spectators, watching from the sidelines as others innovate and transform industries, technologies, and societies. But this mindset is a critical barrier. The truth is, the world does not evolve on its own. It evolves because individuals and teams step into the unknown, challenge the existing order, and push boundaries relentlessly. When we say you are the disruptive force, we mean that change isn't something that just happens around you. It is something that you initiate. It begins with a mindset shift, from passivity to action, from waiting to doing. The biggest breakthroughs in history came not from people who passively accepted the status quo, but from those who questioned it, who saw inefficiencies or injustices or gaps, and decided they would not accept those conditions any longer. They became the agents of transformation, the ones who dared to imagine a different reality and then built it. Disruption in this context is not about chaos for chaos's sake. It's about purposefully breaking the patterns that no longer serve progress. It's about challenging assumptions that are outdated, about rethinking how problems are solved, and about inventing new solutions that redefine what is possible. Disruptive forces shake foundations. They don't just improve on existing models incrementally. They upend them entirely. Think of it like a storm that clears the old dead leaves and brings fresh air and light. The world needs these storms to grow, to evolve. The role of a disruptive force requires courage. It means being willing to step into uncomfortable territory, where there are no guarantees and where failure is a real possibility. But it also means understanding that failure is not the end. It's a necessary step in the process of innovation. Without disruption, progress stagnates. Without the willingness to break molds, the future will look just like the past. Being a disruptive force also means embracing responsibility. Change affects not just yourself, but everyone around you. The technologies you build, the ideas you promote, and the movements you lead have ripple effects far beyond your immediate environment. This is why disruption must be thoughtful and deliberate. It requires vision and clarity, a sense of where you want to go and why it matters. The greatest disruptive innovators are those who combine imagination with practical execution, who balance big thinking with the discipline to deliver results. It's critical to recognize that disruption is not just about technology or business models. It applies to all aspects of life's social systems: education, energy, transportation, healthcare, even how we communicate and collaborate. Every field has its own entrenched systems that resist change, that benefit from inertia. These systems often have powerful defenders who claim that this is how it's always been done, or this is too risky to change. But progress does not come from preserving the familiar. It comes from questioning and reinventing. When you embrace your role as the disruptive force, you stop seeing barriers as walls and start seeing them as challenges to be overcome. You develop a mindset that views obstacles as puzzles, inefficiencies as opportunities, and resistance as a signal that you are on the right track. This perspective is essential because disruption inevitably encounters pushback, whether from competitors, regulators, or even from within one's own organization or community. Those who lead disruption must be resilient, adaptable, and ready to pivot when necessary while never losing sight of the end goal. Another vital element of being the disruptive force is speed. The world moves fast. Technologies and markets evolve rapidly. To be effective, disruptors must be nimble, willing to iterate quickly, and embrace experimentation. Speed is not about recklessness. It's about learning rapidly from small failures, adjusting course, and continuously improving. This cycle of build, test, learn is what separates successful innovators from those who get stuck in endless planning or analysis paralysis. Disruption is also inherently collaborative. While it starts with individual initiative, it grows through networks of people who share vision and expertise. No one builds the future alone. Disruptive forces bring together diverse talents, ideas, and perspectives to solve complex problems. They break down silos and create ecosystems where innovation can flourish. Being the disruptive force means not only having your own ideas, but also empowering others to contribute and amplify the impact. A key aspect of this is embracing transparency and open communication. Disruption thrives in environments where information flows freely, where failures are shared as lessons rather than hidden as shame, and where feedback is welcomed as fuel for improvement. This culture of openness accelerates learning and builds trust, which are critical ingredients for sustained disruption. Importantly, being the disruptive force means you do not wait for permission. The world often tells us to follow established paths, to seek approval before acting, to stay within comfort zones. But true disruptors move ahead even when the road is uncertain or others doubt them. They take initiative and make decisions based on evidence, intuition, and a clear vision of impact rather than consensus. This decisiveness is what propels them forward while others hesitate. The disruptive force also challenges complacency and the temptation to settle for incremental change. Incrementalism has its place, but it often reinforces existing power structures and slows down progress. Being disruptive means thinking exponentially, imagining solutions that scale and multiply benefits rather than just add small improvements. This exponential mindset unlocks possibilities that transform industries and societies. Moreover, the disruptive force demands a deep understanding of the problems being solved. Surface-level solutions or band-aid fixes don't disrupt. They merely postpone the inevitable need for real change. Successful disruption dives into root causes, re-examines fundamental assumptions, and builds from the ground up. This thorough approach often reveals new paths that were invisible before. Disruptors also have a unique relationship with risk. They don't avoid risk, they manage and embrace it strategically. Risk taking is calculated, informed by data and analysis, but also informed by a willingness to challenge the norms and push beyond comfort zones. Without risk, there is no reward. Without risk, there is no meaningful change. One of the most compelling aspects of being the disruptive force is the sense of agency it creates. When you realize that you are not a passive observer, but a key player shaping the future, it changes everything. It fuels motivation, drives focus, and cultivates resilience. You become empowered to innovate, to lead, and to build the future you envision. In the grand scheme, disruption is not just about competition or markets. It's about humanity's progress, the collective push toward better technologies, better societies, better ways of living. When you take on the role of the disruptive force, you are part of that movement. You become a node in a global network of change-makers who are accelerating humanity's advancement. This mindset of being the storm, the force of disruption, is accessible to everyone. It's not reserved for geniuses or billionaires or visionaries born into privilege. It is a choice. It's a commitment to challenge, to act, to create, and to endure. It's the recognition that waiting for the future to happen to you is no longer an option. When you embody this role, you start to see yourself differently. You stop doubting whether you can make a difference. You start to realize that your ideas, your actions, your persistence can tip the balance. You become part of a legacy of those who dared to change the world, who moved faster than the inertia of the old, and who built something new and better. To be the disruptive force means to reject complacency and passivity. It means to own your role as a creator and innovator, to recognize that you are not merely reacting to change. You are the driver of it. Every day you make decisions that either contribute to progress or preserve the status quo. Which will you choose? Bold risks and rapid learning fuel progress and innovation. This principle lies at the core of every meaningful breakthrough in history, and it remains just as true today. Innovation is not a linear, predictable path. It's a dynamic, often messy process that requires stepping beyond comfort zones, experimenting with new ideas, and adapting quickly based on what you learn. To drive progress, you must be willing to take chances, sometimes big, sometimes calculated, and embrace the lessons that come from both success and failure. Taking bold risks means challenging conventional wisdom and stepping into uncertainty. It means pursuing ideas that others might dismiss as too ambitious, too unconventional, or too dangerous. When you commit to bold risk-taking, you accept that failure is not only possible but probable. However, this is not recklessness. It is a strategic choice to push boundaries that have not been tested before. Progress demands that someone be willing to push beyond what's safe and known, because the greatest rewards often lie just beyond the edge of the familiar. But risk-taking on its own is not enough. What truly fuels innovation is the ability to learn rapidly from the outcomes of those risks and to iterate quickly. Rapid learning means you don't wait for perfection or total certainty before moving forward. Instead, you test ideas in the real world, gather data, analyze results, and adjust accordingly. This cycle of build, measure, learn accelerates discovery and helps avoid the trap of endless planning or paralysis by analysis. One of the most important insights about risk and learning is that failure is not a sign of incompetence or weakness. It is a crucial step in the process. Every failure contains valuable information about what works and what doesn't. The difference between successful innovators and others is that innovators don't shy away from failure. They actively seek feedback, embrace mistakes as data points, and use those lessons to refine their approach. This mindset shifts failure from being a setback to being a source of competitive advantage. This approach requires humility and resilience. Humility to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, and resilience to keep moving forward after setbacks. Innovation is a process of trial and error on a massive scale. It demands patience without complacency, the patience to understand that progress comes in waves, and the determination to keep pushing even when the path is unclear. Speed is a critical factor in this equation. The pace of change today is accelerating across almost every industry. Technologies evolve rapidly, markets shift quickly, and customer expectations change constantly. To keep up, and more importantly, to lead, you must not only take bold risks, but also learn and adapt faster than others. Rapid iteration and fast feedback loops allow you to seize new opportunities and course. Correct before small problems become catastrophic failures. The organizations and individuals that embrace this model cultivate cultures that reward experimentation. They encourage their teams to test ideas without fear of punishment for failure. Psychological safety becomes a cornerstone where people feel free to innovate, share insights, and propose bold solutions. When risks taking and rapid learning are embedded in the culture, innovation becomes a continuous, sustainable engine rather than a one-off event. Another aspect of this dynamic is the importance of data and measurement. Taking bold risks without measuring outcomes is guesswork. Rapid learning depends on collecting accurate, timely information and using it to make informed decisions. This means investing in tools, processes, and disciplines that enable quick data analysis, as well as fostering the analytical skills needed to interpret results meaningfully. Moreover, bold risks, taking and rapid learning require balancing short-term experimentation with long-term vision. While it's critical to test and adapt quickly, you must also keep an eye on the ultimate goal you're trying to achieve. This dual focus helps prevent getting lost in constant pivots or chasing fleeting trends. The most effective innovators maintain a clear sense of purpose, even as they adjust tactics to respond to new information. The concept of failing fast is often misunderstood as encouraging reckless behavior, but it is really about minimizing the cost and impact of failure by identifying problems early. By designing experiments that are small, controlled, and focused, you can learn quickly whether an idea has potential. This approach conserves resources and allows you to scale promising innovations efficiently, rather than investing heavily upfront in unproven concepts. Risks taking and rapid learning also foster creativity. When people know that bold ideas will be tried and that failure is part of the journey, they feel empowered to think outside the box. This freedom sparks unconventional thinking and breakthrough discoveries. It creates an environment where innovation is not stifled by fear or rigid rules, but encouraged by curiosity and exploration. In addition, rapid learning promotes agility, an ability to pivot or change direction when new information demands it. Agility is essential in today's fast-moving world, where sticking to a rigid plan can lead to missed opportunities or costly mistakes. The most innovative teams are those that embrace flexibility, listen carefully to feedback, and are willing to change course based on evidence rather than ego. Taking bold risks is inherently a leadership challenge. It requires leaders who can articulate a compelling vision that justifies the risk, who can inspire their teams to commit despite uncertainty, and who can create an environment where failure is viewed as a stepping stone rather than a threat. Leaders must model the behaviors they want to see, openly discussing both successes and failures to normalize learning and experimentation. One of the most powerful examples of this mindset comes from technology startups, which often operate under extreme uncertainty but have achieved outsized impact by embracing bold risks and rapid learning. These companies iterate through countless versions of their products, gathering user feedback and quickly adjusting. They move fast enough to outpace established competitors and pivot when necessary to find the right market fit. However, this approach is not limited to startups. Large organizations and governments are increasingly adopting agile, experimental methodologies to foster innovation. The key is building structures and mindsets that tolerate risk and speed up learning cycles. This often means breaking down silos, empowering teams to make decisions quickly, and investing in continuous learning programs. In a broader societal context, bold risks and rapid learning are essential for solving complex global challenges. Issues like climate change, sustainable energy, healthcare, and space exploration require approaches that go beyond incremental improvement. They demand breakthroughs that come from daring experiments and rapid iteration on new technologies and policies. The scale and urgency of these challenges make embracing risk and accelerating learning a moral imperative. To internalize this principle personally, it's important to cultivate curiosity and an openness to change. Instead of fearing failure or uncertainty, see them as invitations to explore and discover. Challenge yourself regularly to try new things, test assumptions, and seek feedback. Develop habits of reflection to learn from every experience, success or failure. It's also critical to develop a tolerance for ambiguity. Bold risks taking involves stepping into the unknown where outcomes are not guaranteed. This discomfort is part of the process. Learning to operate effectively in uncertainty and making decisions with imperfect information is a skill that can be developed through practice and experience. Finally, recognize that innovation is a collective journey. While individual boldness matters, collaboration amplifies learning. Sharing knowledge, insights, and failures with others creates a feedback loop that accelerates improvement for everyone involved. Openness and transparency are foundational to rapid learning at scale. This combination of bold risk-taking and rapid learning is not just a formula for innovation. It's a mindset and culture that propels progress. It transforms how problems are approached, how teams operate, and how organizations compete. When you embody this principle, you become a catalyst for change, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible and driving the world forward. Complacency and waiting are the enemies of the future. This is a critical truth that too many overlook, yet it shapes the trajectory of progress more than any single factor. The future does not arrive on its own timetable, nor does it reward those who stand still hoping for the right moment. Instead, it is shaped by those who refuse to wait, who act decisively and boldly in the face of uncertainty. Complacency is a silent killer of innovation and advancement because it breeds stagnation, allowing opportunity to slip away and momentum to fade. When people wait for conditions to be perfect or for someone else to take the lead, the window of opportunity narrows. Waiting for consensus, for ideal resources, for a foolproof plan, these are all forms of hesitation that slow down progress. In dynamic, fast-moving environments, hesitation is equivalent to falling behind. The world rewards those who move quickly and decisively, who accept that some risk and uncertainty are inherent in shaping the future. Complacency often arises from comfort and the illusion of security. When systems, organizations, or individuals achieve a certain level of success, there is a natural tendency to cling to what works and avoid rocking the boat. This mindset is understandable. Change is difficult, and disruption can be threatening. But comfort zones become cages that limit potential. The longer you stay within them, the harder it becomes to break free and innovate. The future belongs to those who can embrace discomfort as a catalyst rather than a deterrent. Waiting, on the other hand, is an illusion of control. It assumes that there will be a right time to act, a moment when conditions align perfectly. But the truth is that conditions are rarely perfect. and waiting for them often means missing the chance to shape the environment itself. Those who wait for permission or ideal circumstances cede influence over the future to others who are willing to act sooner, to iterate faster, and to take risks. The enemy here is inertia, the natural resistance to change that pervades human nature and institutions. Inertia is powerful because it masquerades as safety and prudence. It tells us to be patient, to conserve energy, to maintain the status quo. But inertia is deceptive. It quietly erodes opportunity and allows competitors, technologies, and ideas to move ahead while you remain static. In a world accelerating with innovation, staying still is falling behind. Overcoming complacency requires a mindset shift towards urgency, not panic, but a deep recognition that time is a critical resource that cannot be wasted. This urgency is not about reckless haste, but about aligning your pace with the speed of change around you. It means setting ambitious goals, creating tight feedback loops, and continuously pushing to accelerate progress. When urgency becomes embedded in culture, it drives teams to innovate rapidly and consistently. Waiting also often reflects fear, fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, fear of criticism. These fears are natural but must be acknowledged and managed rather than allowed to dictate decisions. The risk of waiting to avoid failure is actually greater than the risk of acting and failing fast. Every moment spent waiting is a moment lost in the race toward the future. The future is shaped by those who choose to act despite fear and uncertainty. They understand that failure is part of the journey and that learning from mistakes accelerates improvement. In fact, the willingness to fail early and learn quickly is one of the most powerful antidotes to complacency. It breaks the cycle of waiting and paralysis and turns inertia into momentum. Another reason complacency is so dangerous is that it breeds a narrow focus on short-term gains instead of long-term impact. Organizations or individuals comfortable with the status quo often prioritize incremental improvements that safeguard current success, but do not position them for future relevance. This approach is short-sighted. True leaders think decades ahead, envisioning how today's actions shape the world of tomorrow. They invest in moonshot ideas, radical innovations, and disruptive technologies precisely because these create new pathways and opportunities. Waiting for the future also means surrendering control. It implies a reactive posture, responding to changes after they happen rather than proactively driving change. Proactive innovators anticipate shifts, create trends, and influence markets before others realize what's possible. This forward-looking approach requires curiosity, vigilance, and a commitment to continuous learning. It demands that you constantly scan the horizon for emerging signals and act on them swiftly. Complacency is also contagious. It can spread through organizations and ecosystems, creating cultures that resist change and penalize risk-taking. Overcoming this requires deliberate leadership and cultural design. Leaders must model urgency and decisiveness, celebrate bold moves, and create environments where experimentation is encouraged and failures are viewed as steps toward success. They must challenge assumptions, question comfort zones, and push teams to exceed perceived limits. Importantly, overcoming complacency requires recognizing that waiting is a choice, not an inevitability. You have agency over your actions and decisions. You can choose to be a passive observer or an active participant. You can choose to lead transformation or be swept aside by it. This sense of agency is empowering and fuels motivation. When you embrace it, you stop blaming external circumstances or waiting for others to act. Instead, you take ownership of your role in shaping the future. This principle applies at every scale, from individuals deciding to learn a new skill or start a project, to companies investing in disruptive R&D, to governments implementing thinking policies. At every level, those who avoid complacency and reject waiting create disproportionate impact. They set new standards, open new markets, and redefine what's possible. Another way complacency manifests is through over-reliance on past success. Resting on laurels creates a false sense of security. The world changes rapidly, and what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. Innovation requires constantly questioning and reinventing. It demands vigilance and the humility to recognize when change is necessary. The natural tendency to wait for perfect information or alignment must also be overcome. While data and planning are essential, overanalysis can lead to paralysis. The concept of perfect is often an illusion. Action based on the best available information, combined with a willingness to learn and adjust, is far more effective than waiting for certainty. Technological progress provides clear examples of how waiting can be detrimental. Industries disrupted by new technologies often faced resistance from incumbents who waited too long to adapt. Those who moved swiftly to embrace new paradigms gained dominant positions. Waiting created lost market share, lost influence, and in some cases, extinction. This pattern repeats across sectors and generations. Waiting also undermines motivation and momentum. Action breeds confidence. Each step forward generates new energy, new ideas, and builds a sense of possibility. Conversely, waiting and hesitation sap energy, increase doubt, and reinforce limiting beliefs. Momentum is a force multiplier in innovation. Losing it through complacency can be devastating. The fight against complacency is also a fight against time itself. Time is a non-renewable resource. Every day spent waiting is a day lost in the race to innovate, to capture opportunities, and to solve pressing challenges. Those who recognize the scarcity of time and act accordingly gain a powerful advantage. Finally, overcoming complacency means embracing a mindset of continuous urgency, a perpetual readiness to act and innovate. It means embedding speed, adaptability, and proactive behavior into the very fabric of how you think and operate. This mindset is not temporary. It is the foundation of sustained progress. Own your power and shape the future with urgency and vision. This is more than just a motivational phrase. It is a call to recognize that each individual possesses the capability and responsibility to influence the trajectory of progress and innovation. The future is not something that happens to you passively. It is something you actively create through your decisions, actions, and mindset. Owning your power means fully embracing this agency and committing to deliberate, impactful efforts to shape what comes next. To own your power requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as a small part in a vast, uncontrollable system, you must see yourself as a key driver within that system, an agent of change capable of making significant contribution. This mindset empowers you to move beyond excuses or feelings of helplessness and towards purposeful action. It acknowledges that no matter the scale of your influence, your choices matter, and collectively, those choices build the future. Vision is the compass that guides this process. Without a clear vision, power can become aimless or misdirected. Vision provides purpose and direction, a picture of a future that you want to help bring into reality. It motivates, inspires, and aligns effort toward meaningful goals. Vision is not a vague hope. It is a specific, ambitious, and actionable goal that challenges current limitations and ignites progress. Urgency complements vision by infusing it with speed and intensity. Vision without urgency can become procrastination disguised as planning. Urgency drives you to act now, to prioritize effectively, and to overcome inertia. It ensures that your efforts do not stagnate but continually push forward. Together, vision and urgency form a powerful combination that turns ideas into reality rapidly and effectively. Owning your power also means taking responsibility, not just for successes, but also for failures and setbacks. It means refusing to blame external factors or wait for others to lead. This sense of ownership fosters resilience and adaptability, because when you know that the outcome depends largely on your input, you are more motivated to learn, pivot, and persevere. It instills a proactive stance rather than a reactive one. The foundation of owning your power lies in confidence. Confidence rooted not in arrogance, but in competence and clarity of purpose. This confidence comes from developing skills, knowledge, and experience, but also from cultivating a mindset that trusts in your ability to learn and adapt. It is a belief that you can influence complex systems and navigate uncertainty with courage. One of the biggest challenges in owning your power is overcoming self-doubt and fear. These are natural human responses but often limit potential. Recognizing that fear is a signal of growth rather than a barrier can transform your approach. When you embrace discomfort as a sign that you're stretching beyond your limits, you open the door to innovation and leadership. Vision itself is a dynamic force. It evolves as you gather new information and experience. Owning your power means maintaining flexibility in your vision without losing sight of your core purpose. This balance allows you to adjust your strategies while staying committed to your ultimate goals. Urgency also requires discipline. It means setting clear priorities and focusing intensely on high-impact activities. It involves making difficult decisions about where to allocate time, energy, and resources. Without discipline, urgency can lead to burnout or scattered efforts. Effective urgency channels energy efficiently toward progress. Collaboration is an essential part of shaping the future. Owning your power doesn't mean going it alone. It means recognizing your role within a larger ecosystem of innovators, leaders, and collaborators. Building relationships, sharing ideas, and learning from others amplify your impact. It turns individual power into collective force. Communication plays a vital role in this process. Clearly articulating your vision, goals, and progress inspires others and builds momentum. It creates alignment and attracts support. Owning your power means mastering the art of influence, not through coercion, but through compelling storytelling, credibility, and authenticity. Technology is a powerful enabler in owning your power and shaping the future. Today's tools allow individuals and small teams to solve problems that once required massive organizations. Understanding and leveraging technology amplifies your ability to innovate and accelerate change. It democratizes power in unprecedented ways. Ownership also means accountability. It means measuring progress honestly and being willing to course correct. It requires transparency and integrity in actions and decisions. When you hold yourself accountable, you build trust with stakeholders, customers, and communities, which strengthens your influence and effectiveness. Moreover, owning your power involves cultivating resilience in the face of setbacks and uncertainty. The path to shaping the future is rarely smooth. Challenges and failures are inevitable, but resilience, the capacity to recover, learn, and continue forward, is what differentiates those who succeed from those who give up. Leadership is an expression of owning your power. Whether or not you hold a formal leadership title, you can lead by example, by inspiring others through your vision and urgency. Leadership involves taking initiative, making tough choices, and supporting others in their growth. It creates a ripple effect that multiplies impact. Ethical responsibility is another critical dimension. Owning your power means considering the broader consequences of your actions. It means striving to create positive impact not only for yourself, but for society and future generations. Vision and urgency must be balanced with a moral compass that guides decisions toward fairness, sustainability, and inclusivity. Continuous learning fuels this process. The future is shaped by those who adapt and evolve. Owning your power means committing to lifelong learning, seeking new knowledge, skills, and perspectives. It involves staying curious and open-minded in a world that is constantly changing. Risk management is intertwined with owning your power. Taking bold steps requires assessing and mitigating risks thoughtfully. It means being strategic about where to push boundaries and where to exercise caution. This balance ensures that urgency and vision translate into sustainable progress rather than reckless action. Time management is a practical skill that supports urgency. Owning your power involves mastering how you use your time, focusing on activities that drive the greatest impact. It requires setting boundaries, avoiding distractions, and creating routines that sustain energy and focus. Mindset plays a foundational role, a growth mindset, that abilities and intelligence can be developed, empowers you to embrace challenges and persist in the face of obstacles. It encourages innovation, experimentation, and continuous improvement, all essential for shaping the future. Financial stewardship is also part of owning your power. Resources, whether money, materials, or human capital, are finite. Wise allocation and investment of these resources magnify your ability to execute your vision urgently and effectively. It requires discipline, foresight, and sometimes difficult choices. Networking and influence are critical. Owning your power means building and nurturing connections with people who can support, challenge, and amplify your efforts. Influence extends your reach beyond your immediate circle and enables collaboration across industries and disciplines. Embracing complexity is necessary. The challenges and opportunities of the future are often multifaceted and interconnected. Owning your power means developing the ability to navigate this complexity, to synthesize diverse information, and to make decisions in ambiguous contexts. Mental and physical well-being support sustained ownership of your power. Innovation and leadership demand energy, focus, and resilience. Prioritizing health, rest, and balance enables you to maintain the intensity and clarity needed to act with urgency and vision over the long term. Purpose-driven action ties everything together. When your efforts are aligned with a deep sense of purpose, you are more motivated, creative, and persistent. Owning your power is most effective when driven by a meaningful why that connects your vision to something greater than yourself. Finally, owning your power means embracing the challenge of legacy, considering how your actions today will influence the world tomorrow. This perspective encourages long-term thinking, responsibility, and commitment to impact that endures beyond immediate success.